I'm here at EPT Barcelona where I spoke to Triple Crown winner Niall Farrell Farrell, who's the subject of a new BBC poker documentary, The 4 Rules of the Poker Kings. We talked about his documentary appearance, his iconic Triple Crown victory, streaming during quarantine, and he even broke down a hand he played in the WSOP Europe Main Event. Let's get into it. All right, Niall, well, thank you for doing this. I'm very excited to talk to you. And as we were just saying, you have done a lot of more mainstream media lately because you are the subject of a BBC poker documentary that came out. So that's very exciting. I do want to talk about all that, but I'd like to go back even further to start off and, go back to your poker origins and how you got into this industry, how you became a professional gambler. So when did poker first come into your life?
For me, the first time it came into my life would have been it was very early, but it was before I could even play. I think it would have been near the end of high school when we had a show called Late Night Poker on Channel 4 in the UK. And I believe it was the first show to ever have the whole card cam, which was quite revolutionary for poker. Probably if that didn't happen, we probably wouldn't have either of us jobs at this point. And I watched that when it was on TV and stuff, and then when I went to university, played a bit with friends and stuff when we ran out of money, when we couldn't go out to bars and stuff, and then kind of went from there, really.
So did you get more into it in university then? Did you guys start taking it seriously?
Yeah, so my last year at university, just as I was getting ready to graduate, I was playing online quite regularly, to the point that I was doing okay. I wasn't winning heaps and heaps, but I was getting to the point where I was winning quite regularly, and it was still reasonable money as well, particularly compared to coming straight out of university and going into a job. It would be comparable probably. So basically when I graduated, I was like, well, I'm just going to give it a go, and if it works out, great, and if it doesn't, I can fall back on my degree or whatever, and here I am still. So I got very fortunate and it went pretty well.
What was your degree? What were you studying while there?
So I did law. It's a bit different in the UK to America. It's like a 4-year course. It's like an undergraduate course. It's not like, I think in America you have to do something and then go on to.
Yeah, we have law school here, so there's undergraduate and then law school.
Yeah,
after
so ours
that.
is just you go straight from high school into law, and then I think what would have happened after that is you get placed with a firm and they teach you probably the extra bits that you would do in law school or whatever, but so that's what I did. So technically law degree, but it would be less accomplished than an American law degree.
Still a law degree,
if that makes sense.
Yeah. So I was considering doing law. I never got far into it, but one thing that I did was I did debate both in high school and a little bit in college, and I've always found once I got into poker, I found a lot of similarities just in between the logic that goes into forming an argument and things like that. Do you think that studying law did help you get a more logical mind or think in that sort of way?
I'm not sure if I think perhaps I was drawn to it because for the same reasons, similar reasons I was drawn to poker or whatever. It's very logic heavy, but I didn't. To be honest, by the end of it, I didn't really like law at all. It was just it wasn't really for me. It was I felt it was kind of funny because I'm a poker player. I would have felt very soulless and very. It just wasn't really something that I was enjoying, but I stuck it out and finished it. But there's definitely, it's weird because you think it's more numerical poker and stuff as well, and a lot of things, a lot of side of it. So it's weird to have a kind of language-based degree and go into it. But it's definitely it's logic formula, it's logic, a logic foundation, which obviously helps a lot with poker.
Totally, definitely that logic connection is something that I see as well. So, but yeah, you're going there to study law, and I think this is something you've talked about in the documentary as well, but it's got to be pretty hard telling your parents that you're going to be pursuing poker professionally when, especially, back in those days, no one really looks at that as a thing that you can do successfully. So what was that like, convincing the parents or telling them that you weren't going to be using that law degree?
Yeah, I'm pretty lucky. My mum and dad are both very supportive, and they're both just they kind of trust me to make my own mistakes and all that. I can look after myself, kind of thing. So when I said that, I'm sure they weren't doing handstands or anything like that, but it was very much just you've got your degree now, go give it a go. Maybe I don't know if they were skeptical at the time if it would work out or whatever, but they do have quite a lot of trust in me. So it was it's probably not what they wanted to hear immediately after having a law degree, but they never had anything negative to say or anything about it. I know a lot of my friends have struggled with that, with there's a lot of negative connotations to, especially when it's people outside poker that don't understand how kind of sanitized and commercialized it is now. It's not, I think my mum thought it was backroom saloon, smoky rooms, with like a Smith & Wesson, like Doyle days, but I think now she knows, like, she's seen a lot of like the live streams and all this stuff, and it's all corporate sponsors and all that kind of thing. So I think she's like more on board with it now. But I was pretty lucky; they were very supportive overall. So, and I know not everybody gets that, so I'm very fortunate for that.
And yeah, so you mentioned live streams, and those are obviously something that's booming right now. Do you think that since you got into poker, the public perception of poker has been changed? Do you think maybe it's been like more normalized, or people see it's not these dingy backroom games, it's just, a lot of chess players on stream playing and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think when I got into poker, it was on the way to that already, because I was a bit after Moneymaker and all that kind of stuff. I think recently with the influx of particularly like chess streamers and stuff like that, it helps poker have a bit, I don't know if legitimacy is the right word, but it's, you have like Alex Botez or whatever,
yeah,
and all these very popular, very smart people who play chess at a very high level come over and explain that poker is a strategy game. It's not a casino. It's not getting lumped in with roulette and blackjack. Like your Uber driver does. It's been very shown up to be like the deep strategy game that it is, which is great.
Yeah. And so talking about live poker, you're very accomplished. You're at the very top of Scotland's all-time money list by quite a bit, actually. And looking at your Hendon Mob, it looks like your first cash was in 2010, and it was a victory in a UK IPT Turbo event. Do you remember that event?
I remember being in it, but it was a £50 turbo, and I think we'd had a few beers, so I don't know if I remember the exact event, but I do remember playing it. But yeah, it was in, I think it was UK IPT Edinburgh. It was one of my first live tournaments I had played. I was very much an online, which is weird to say now because it's probably more the other way now, but I was very much an online grinder from first year was 2009. I don't think I played any live tournaments or anything. So, but yeah, I do. I remember the event. And it was a great event. It was back when PokerStars had the UK IPT, and it was all televised and everything. It was on proper like mainstream TV in the UK. So like if you got on the feature table, you were going on TV on Channel 4. And it's like it was a big deal. But yeah, I remember it well. The actual tournament, not so much, but the event, yeah.
It's just always interesting when you see someone's first Hendon Mob result and it's a first place. It seems like those are the type of people who stick with poker, think about things like survivorship bias and things like that.
That makes sense, yeah. I think, to be fair, there was like 14 people in the tournament. I don't know how many there was, so it's like maybe less impressive than it looks. But
well, like you said, you'd already been playing online, so it's not like that's your first tournament or anything like that, but definitely a good start. And then, that was in 2010, and then just 5 years later is when things just really broke out for you. You achieved the Triple Crown and did it in all 3 years. Starting in 2015, you won the EPT Malta Main Event. Next year, you won the WPT Caribbean Main Event, and then you won a WSOP Europe High Roller. That's just an incredible run. I mean, just looking at it, like, well, now that we're almost a decade when you first won that EPT Malta Main Event, how do you look back on that run?
Oh, it was crazy. I mean, literally, it was in 3 years, but it was like in the space of 2 years. So it was like,
oh wow,
just over 2 years. And it was ridiculous. It just like hard to explain. Like every time I got close to the final table, I would just win, and it was just a lot of it's just winning a lot of all-ins and stuff. You don't really realize it at the time. You think you're God's gift to poker. It's like, wow, why doesn't everyone do this? Just win. Why wouldn't you just win? But a few years after that of just making the same amount of final tables but getting 7th and 8th made me realise, that's why. It's not really up. It's a good bit of luck involved at final tables. But no, fantastic looking back. It just felt like everything. You just felt like you were unstoppable. You couldn't, and a lot of that's just, if you run really well and then you're super confident, you start. I really think that it helps you play better as well, because it's such a tough mentally. If you're running really bad, the opposite. It's really tough mentally to keep like if you've just bluffed into the nuts like 15 times in a row over 6 months in big spots, when the 17th time comes around, it takes a really, really strong mentality to pull the trigger that 17th time, and when you're running really well and all your bluffs are getting through and all your value bets are getting called, it's so easy just to keep playing well and pull the trigger. So it's a really like underappreciated part of the game, I think, because that's why like, people go on heaters and it's like, oh, it's well, heaters, it's just random variants or whatever. But I think there's really like running well and having that confidence boost. I'm a firm believer that it makes you play better, and that's where heaters are born.
And at what point during this run did you start thinking about the Triple Crown? Because that's a very prestigious accomplishment in poker. Only a handful of people have done it. Was it after the EPT win, the WPT one? When were you like, okay, I can...
It was straight after the EPT one, because my good friend Jake Cody had just done it prior as well, and we were very competitive, and I'm like, well, he's done it, so, I'm going to do it too. But yeah, as soon as I won the EPT, I was like, right, I'm going to go for it. So I did... I wasn't, for example, like the Rosvedov one that I won, if I'd won a bracelet, I think, was it that summer I made like 4 Vegas final tables and didn't win a bracelet. It might have been the summer before, but I wasn't going to go to Rosvedov. But then because I was chasing the Triple Crown, I went. And if it worked out. It just shows you how much short-term like universal luck or variance or whatever it is. Because like obviously I won the bracelet there, and I got 5th in the main as well, like 3 days later, which I think it was an obscene thing to happen as well. And all of that's because if I wasn't going for the Triple Crown, I probably wouldn't have went, because I just couldn't. I was like, okay, I'll go because I'm chasing it. So I was very much chasing it. I tried for ages as well to get. So Party Poker had their tournaments. I forget what they were called, but it was the Party Poker Live mains, and I was trying to be like the first person to do all 4 as well. And I think I've got a 9th and a 5th and stuff like that. And those I didn't want one of those, and I don't think they're around anymore. So I'm pretty sad about that. But I love all that stuff. I love like the flag races on Hendon Mob. Yeah. Most countries cashed in, crowns, Grand Slam, anything with a name in it. I live for all that. I love it.
So how did you celebrate after winning the WSOP bracelet?
We went. A few of us went to. So in Rosvedov, obviously, for those who've been, it's very quiet. There's not really a lot of places to celebrate. So we actually arranged for a transport to a city called Pilsen. I would probably butchering that pronunciation, but it's about a 40-minute drive away. It's like a quiet little university city, and we went out. We arranged that, and we managed to arrange a lift back at like 3 a.m. So we just went through there for the day. I had a great time. Yeah, we ended up in I think it was some like student goth nightclub under a bridge somewhere in the middle. And then obviously it's not like a major city, so no one really speaks English stuff. I had a great time. I can't remember exactly. I want to say it was me. I want to say Grafton, Moorman, Ludo, a few. It was quite a good crew actually that all went out to Rosvedov. It was great. Yeah, it was really, really good. And it was Pilsen's a cool place. I'd quite like to go back actually.
Yeah, I've never been to Rosvedov, but I have been to Prague, which I guess is somewhat close. But so I do want to stick on that 2017 WSOP Europe for a little bit, because when I was first getting into poker, watching Doug Poke videos and things like that, one hand that still sticks in my head to these days is one that you played in the main event. Looks like it was on day 4, but it was the hand where you had Ace King and Maria Ho. It was like a 4-way pot, but Maria Ho ended up folding a set of 10s. Yeah. So maybe we could even just watch a little bit of this. Yeah, I got it pulled up here.
I remember this.
You remember this hand?
I do. I wouldn't have played it. I wouldn't play it this way today.
Well, it worked out.
I know. Like I mean, yeah. I don't know if we're going to see it or whatever, but I did get 3 better hands to fold, I guess, which is nice. But yeah, I would play this very differently today. But that's once again, the tides of fortune, isn't it?
So let's see.
Look at this table, by the way. It's not often,
insane table. Everyone in this hand. Yeah.
I mean, especially in 2017, it's not often I'd be at a table where I'd be just the worst player, but it looks like I've managed it here.
So right here, you're always 3-betting?
Yes, pure squeeze here. So I remember I actually got a lot of flack in this for how long I'd taken, but it was just a spot like, a 4-way 3-bet pot with a cold call on a monotone board out of position is like not something I'd done a lot of work on, so I was genuinely just trying to figure it out on the fly. So like people are like, oh, look how long he takes in the tank. I was like, I was actually trying to work out what to do. I wasn't posturing or anything.
Real decision for sure. But I do remember this is a very long hand.
Me and the small blind here, like thinking about squeezing. That's maybe a bit egregious. Hurry up a bit, Firaldo. Come on, mate. We've got places to go.
And so now Maria in the big blind after you 3-bet, and she has pocket tens. Tough spot.
Yeah, very tough spot for Maria. I think, I forget how deep we are here.
I don't know if it has a stack.
I don't know if it has stack sizes. I can't remember exactly how deep. I think maybe 60. I think it's quite close between just folding and just, but like cold 4-bet and calling me, like Sai calling me, obviously. I don't think you want to peel here, but I mean, I know Maria pretty well. We talked about this hand a bit before. This is, it's 2017. Like we're all just kind of feeling our way out a bit. It's all of us were involved at this point, but there wasn't the ease of use that we have now with all the different software that tells you all the answers at your fingertips.
Had you played with any of these people a lot before this?
Yeah, I mean all three of them loads over the years. Yeah. Rayner was at my Malta final table and I covered him out of that, which was beautiful because he was on my direct left and I got him on that one. Chrissy I played with several times. She's really strong player, and yeah, Maria I played with a lot, mostly in Vegas, Maria. But we all kind of know each other as well. Like we've all been for dinners and stuff, all four of us.
Oh really?
I think actually, I don't know how personally. I think Maria and Rayner were dating at this point during this hand. I'm not sure how common knowledge. I'm sure it was, but it brings a kind of a fun dynamic to the hand.
So how about here? Once Maria calls, you think Kempe and Bicknell just priced in? Does he even fold here? No, he calls.
Right, Rayner's options, are just call or fold. I think call's pretty clear. Chrissy's is probably got the closest one. I think it's probably just you are just going to be dominated by at least one person a lot as Chrissy, but it is suited and you're getting a great price and you are in absolute position. So, and Chrissy's good enough that if it comes ace high, she's not just going to stack off. She'll just look into your soul and decide, if you're bluffing or if you don't have it, or if you do have it, Nice. Got the old James Bond flop.
So what are you thinking here?
So I can tell you what I was thinking at the time, and I can tell you what I should have done.
Let's hear both.
Right. So at the time, I was thinking more obviously with my hand. It's pretty strong. I'm going to have a lot of over pairs here. I'm going to have a lot of hands like this also. My decision is the very first easy decision is check or bet, and I decided I was going to bet with this hand, just have a lot of equity and get fold out better and so on and so forth. And my thinking at the time was when I bet this flop into 4 people or 3 people, I'm very rarely going to have any bet folds, which is not a very good thought process. But again, we're in 2017 land, right? So I decided instead of betting a small amount, I would just play my range as a shove or a check, which is, and again, I'm aware that it's bad, people in the chat, or not the chat, or the people in the comments. I understand that's not what you're meant to do, but this is what I was thinking at the time. So I decided just to play an all-in here and put maximum pressure on things like ace-jack suited and stuff like that. And also, if someone has a flush, I have outs. Someone has a set, I have outs. It's not the end of the world. But you can tell, this hand I do take. This is one of the longest hands I've played. I think when it's just me to act, because I'm genuinely in my head right now, I'm just what the fuck do I do now?
Tough spot for sure.
So it's I think what I am supposed to do here is check everything.
You think you're supposed to check?
Yeah, I haven't actually. To be fair, because I won the hand, I never checked it. Classic poker player, but I'm fairly sure this is just range check here. A lot of these over, especially cold flat and these overcalls are going to be suited hands and pairs like 10s, 7s, stuff like that. So it's going to be flushes and sets a lot. So it's I think it's a part where my range just wants to check completely, because I'm just going to have black aces and stuff. I have some flushes, but not a big flush advantage. So what I should have done is check. So what I would have probably done now is check and lost the pot. But what old Firaldo did was go all in and win the pot like a champ. maybe there's something to be said for old Firaldo. Maybe bring him back.
How big was your jam? Was it more than the pot? Is that right?
It's like 1.6x pot or something. I don't know if I cover everyone, it's maybe a little bit less, but it was a big jam, but it was just like...
Oh, so you were the table chip leader, is that right?
I'm not sure. Let's have a look here. No, Rainer had me. Rainer had me
oh yeah, they
covered.
got him right there.
Maria, and so against Maria and Chrissy, it's like 110% pot, so it's not that bad. Rainer had me covered, obviously. I mean, obviously just having the ace of hearts, it means it's very tough for them to have a flush as well, so I can understand what I was thinking there, but I was just misapplying it, really. And I can see why, Maria's, this is... I mean, I would call, but it's not... I think she got quite a bit of stick of this hand afterwards, from a lot of comment pros, about, oh, you got a set, why would you call the tens in the first place? But I mean, I'm jamming into 3 people with pretty uncapped ranges on this board. And even if I have, say I have kings with a king of hearts, she only has, it's only 60%, it's not, and then she has to look for people behind as well.
Yeah.
So I can understand. I mean, I think it is a small mistake to fold, but I don't think it's the big disaster that everyone else was saying it was at the time.
You said you've talked to her about it. What are her thoughts on the hand?
Yeah, she kind of agrees. Really, she's I think she agreed it was a small mistake, but basically just echoing kind of it's a very tough spot four-handed, especially at this point.
Yeah,
none of us could have, because I don't think you could even study four-handed pots. It's just really tough to do it now. Never mind back in 2017. So we're all just. This is when I love poker the most as well. We were all just trying to figure out on the fly. Even though I came to what was probably the wrong decision here, I really, really enjoyed that part of just trying to figure it out as you go, kind of thing. It was really, really appealed to me. But yeah, this hand takes 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Or so. You know what's great as well? People don't realize how exhausting poker is, especially this hand is just 15 minutes of pure adrenaline.
I'm
going
sure.
Through you. You're just pure. You're having to keep your face straight. You have to do all this.
So Maria folds, and then the other 2 quickly fold.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kristen folded top pair, probably super easy fold.
Yeah, so I actually talked to Rainer about the hand afterwards, because we used to talk a good amount about and he said he was like, you should probably check everything there. He was ahead of the time. The Germans are always ahead of the time. The UK guys are we're street poker guys, but we talked about it. But I mean, I was just like, well, Rainer, I did get 3 better hands to fold. I bluffed all 3 of you. I don't know what to tell you, man. But yeah, no, it was a very, very iconic hand. I remember it well.
Yeah, that was an iconic hand. It was fun watching it through with you and getting some analysis. How'd you end up finishing in the main event? Because that was a big pot right there.
Yeah, so I got 5th, and I got up to 2nd in chips, and I ran kings into the chip leader's aces. I think that's when the heater finished. That might have been the moment. The poker gods went, enough, too much. That's it, we're cutting you off. But yeah, that was, because that would have been back to back, but that would have been the high roller. And so I know Greggy did it in the Vegas main with the 10k 6 max and then the main event. So I was trying to, if I'd done the European version of that, which is a 25k high roller, then the next event I played 2 days later is the main event, and I won that as well, it would have been obscene, So I was really, although I had I was €1 million in cashes that trip, I still was disappointed, because I love all that the kind of legacy stuff and all that. It's really so. It wasn't to be. I can't be greedy, I guess. It's not. It wouldn't be fair if I'd beat the guy's aces with my kings. I would have probably had to retire. I would have used it all up. All the good luck would have been used.
It's true. I don't know if that would be fair. So, I don't know. I'm sure that it was along the same times as your incredible run those couple of years. But you've done a lot of work with poker sites and ambassadorships and stuff like that.
Some.
Can you talk about some of the stuff that you've done?
Yeah, I mean, I did some stuff with 888 a few years back, just with the main event stuff. And it was always just kind of on and off stuff. It was never really anything permanent. And then I did obviously a year with GG, on which was, if you watch the documentary, you see at the end of the documentary, that's spoilers, but that's they signed me up for a year there. It didn't quite go the way I expected it to. I think we were on different wavelengths as to what we were wanting to do and stuff. And at the end, we just ended up just being for the 1 year. But no, it's something I would really like to do a lot more of, because as you get older as well, it's I love competing and playing poker, and don't get me wrong, stuff like that. But I really like the other side of it as well, like the community aspect and bringing people into it and all that's really, like, I realised I was down in London for UKIPT and saw like all these old faces I hadn't seen for years and stuff, and I realised how much I missed all that kind of stuff. So to be able to do that for a job would be unreal, you know. I would love it. So it would be nice to do some more stuff, but we'll see. Maybe something will come up. Try and get this documentary out to the States or something. See what goes on.
Yeah, you need to get it out to the States for sure. So you've also done a bit of streaming, is that right? I was talking to Brad with PokerNews, who you know. He said that he used to be one of your moderators, and he was telling me some stories. You know, said that maybe you got drunk a few times on stream.
Yeah,
what are some good memories?
Oh yeah, I did. So it was mostly during lockdown, I think, when everyone was starting to lose their mind. And I was like, there's nothing to do, you know. So everyone was kind of getting a bit stir crazy, and I was like, you know, I'm going to fire up the stream, and it went really well actually. It was like, I mean, I would like to take this opportunity just to give massive kudos to anyone who streams like 4 or 5 days a week, because it is tough, man. Like, there's just so much. Like, I was extremely tired after doing it. So I did a few serious streams, but I did the lockdown ones were like the kind of Firaldo After Dark streams, which was I would be on Twitter and I wouldn't let anyone watch unless they tweeted me pictures of alcohol that they were going to drink during the stream. Like, I would just ban them from the chat and stuff if they weren't drinking, things like that, which is probably not the ideal thing to be on Twitch, but I think we were all just a bit crazy at that point. But it went really well. Like, I think I had a couple of days where I had like 2,000 viewers and stuff like that, which I think is obscene.
Yeah.
But I think that was when everyone's viewers were massively up and stuff like that. But no, I enjoyed it, but it did, yeah, it did get a wee bit of a hand at times. You know, those times where you've had a couple too many, and you wake up in the morning and you've got like, you know, a message saying you should probably delete the last hour of your stream, and also we've been watching your empty office for 14 hours. You know, I'm like, oh, okay, that's probably not great. So I don't know if the stream will be coming back. Maybe if we have another pandemic. But no, it was fun at the time. But it was a bit. We did all sorts actually. I think I did some sports betting where I used to just take like £500 and try and run it up on random sports, and then just stream me watching the sports, having a beer and stuff. So, okay, it was fun. It was just, I think for me personally, I'm quite social, and I would think I was missing socialising and having people around, and this was kind of a virtual way I called it like my virtual bar, you know, where everyone would have a like drink and they would send me, like, I'd be getting texts from people watching, and would be, you know, I just kind of I was just a bit lonely. Lockdown's lonely.
That was the other thing I wanted to ask about, because Brad mentioned that too, is sports betting. What crazy sports bet moments have you had? What's the craziest win or loss you've had?
I've had some great ones over the years. So I used to, obviously when I was winning a lot, I do like sports betting. Like, I'm not delusional that I'm winning at it or anything. I do it for fun, so I know I'm losing at it. I've had some great ones. I've had some not some great ones. I had a great story where I had a big bet on Bayern Munich to beat Aberdeen when I was at university, because I thought they were this outrageous price, and Aberdeen got one of the most famous results in their history and drew 2 each, and I just couldn't eat for a month. It was just a very, very fallow month, that one. A really funny one was there was a Celtic Rangers game, and I think we were all at Thunder Valley for a WPT, and I'd convinced a lot of the American guys to bet it with me, and we all bet it quite big, because I was like, this is like the freest money you'll ever get. It's unreal. So we're sat up, and obviously in Thunder Valley it's like 8 hours or whatever. So we're all sat in my hotel room at 4 a.m. watching it on the screen, and we absolutely dominate them. We should have been 4 or 5-0 up. I couldn't believe it. We were 1-0 up, and in the last minute, Rangers scored an equaliser. A guy called Clint Hill, who's like a 40-year-old defender, and so this was, and they were all devastated. And I can't remember who it was, but one of the American guys go, "Well, at least it was a tie, so we get our money back." I had to break the bad news that that's not how it works. Betting on soccer, it's a 3-way market, so we don't get anything back. So that was one of the lower ones. But yeah, I mean, I now, like, to be honest, like nowadays, I'll just, you know, I think you guys call them parlays, but we call them accumulators, ACCAs. I usually just stick like 20 quid on an ACCA and try and win like 10 grand or something from my 20 quid. It's just like, you know, it's I know I'm losing at it, so I keep it smallish, and I just have fun with it, you know. Although saying that, I am up over the last year, because I checked it the other day to see how delusional I was being. And I'm actually winning from the last year, but that's obviously just a lot of good luck. Cause there's no way they're too good. You can't, without a lot of effort and stuff, you can't beat them. So just every time I put a 20 quid on, I just accept that I'm going to lose on average about £6 or £7 of it, and just enjoy myself, you know.
Hey, like you said, you're up, so you know, maybe you do know something. So let's go ahead and talk about it then. The documentary that you're in that we've mentioned. So this is called The 4 Rules of the Poker Kings. It's a BBC documentary, and I don't know. I thought it was pretty cool to see, BBC pursue something like this. What are the origins? How did you first get involved? Whose idea was this?
Yeah, so I actually got a phone call. Greg, who's the producer director, he's a BAFTA award-winning director from Scotland, and for some reason he'd never been in poker, but he wanted to do something on poker. I don't know why. Maybe I don't know how the artistic mind works, but he sent me a message on Facebook actually while I was out in Vegas for the World Series, and I never really checked like that little Facebook bit where like the messages go from people that aren't your friends, but for some reason I was just checking it that day. And I was like, that's kind of weird. So I gave him a ring, and we got to talking about it, and it sounded quite interesting. And he said he'd seen some of my. It was actually an interview I did with Laura Cornelius at the Irish Open, which is probably not. He said he was looking for someone to do a poker documentary with, and they needed to have a bit of character that would translate well to the screen as well, because I think some poker players can be a bit standoffish or a little bit insular or whatever, which is fair enough. I mean, we are. I mean, I am to an extent as well, just in different ways. But he said he'd seen a few of my interviews that I'd done, and he says he would like to meet me and talk about it. So he actually came out to Vegas, and we just we did a little bit of preliminary filming to see what it would look like, and we got talking about it and stuff. And at the end, I just kind of decided to do it. As you said, there's not really been anything in the mainstream. Like, I know there's been a couple of poker documentaries done, but they are done by some poker sites and stuff, so it's not really, it's going to be tough to make it something that everyone's going to want to watch, kind of thing. Whereas the way Greg sold it to me was, he says it's not a poker documentary, it's a people documentary, and it's about you, but through your eyes you can show everyone the world of poker, and that's what makes it accessible to people who aren't like us, who love poker and stuff, and all that kind of stuff. So it sounded really interesting. And I got to a point in my life where I turned down a couple of things with different things like game shows and stuff on TV and things like that. I don't know why I get loads of offers for game shows. I think they might think I'm some kind of team scum, like I would be a good villain or something. I don't know why that is, but I turned down a few things before that, and then because I don't really want people seeing too don't want to be like famous or anything. You just want to get on with your stuff, but. I got to a point where I was like, I'm just going to start saying yes to some stuff and see what happens. A lot of it was I kind of wanted to go down the ambassadorial route in poker as well, because I felt like I was the only person with the Triple Crown that had done all this stuff that hadn't done it really, or whatever, and it seemed like something I thought I'd be really good at. So with an eye on that, I was like, well, this I don't see anyone else doing a BBC documentary, let's go for it. So I just said, yeah, let's do it, and. It was a long road, but we filmed, and then a lot of stuff happened, and it got pushed and things like that. But I'm really happy with what came out in the end, and now it's out and about. So,
what was the filming process like? It looks like they were following you around. It started in EPT Prague in 2021, and then the World Series of Poker the next year. Was there just a camera crew with you at every event?
So it was just Greg. It was just him. He did it all. He has his own freelance documentary filmmaking company. And he does commissions for BBC and stuff. So what we originally did was we went to Prague for EPT, and we got the footage there. And Greg actually said to me, so there's footage where, again, spoilers, but I get in ninth in the high roller, and so first $500,000, and I think I get 50k, and I'm devastated because I'm competitive and poker players hate getting ninth or whatever. But he couldn't understand why I was devastated having won 50 grand from a 10 grand entry fee. And he said when he showed it to the BBC, that was what made them go, that's really interesting. Why is he so upset here? I don't get it. So we don't really understand this world. And that was the footage that made them go, right, just, give you the go-ahead. We'll buy it. You make it. And go on from there. So it was a lot of that. And then Greg, unfortunately, got really ill after filming. So there was a big delay because Greg had to look after himself, obviously. And thankfully, he's a lot better now and in good shape. But there was a long delay of the work, because obviously he wasn't working on it or whatever. So that's why it was just filmed just after COVID, if restrictions were lifted. But glad it finally made it out, because there was a period where it looked like it might not make it out, which is fine. I still had, it was very interesting making it, and you got to do a lot of stuff that you wouldn't have done otherwise. And it was, new experiences are always. I don't know if I sound really old saying this, but I really like doing new stuff now. It's I'm turning into my dad. This is brutal, but I really enjoyed having this kind of new. I've been like just giving people a look into what poker's really like, because I think it doesn't get a fair shake of the. Is that a saying? A fair shake of the tail. Am I just making sayings up now? I don't think it gets. Yeah, I think it's unfairly stigmatised a lot. So I thought it'd be nice just to see a kind of normal, like a normal poker player guy, like with family, and I'm not some scammer guy. Everyone thinks, oh, you must be a hustler and all this. I thought it'd be really kind of nice to get it out to show that it is a legitimate endeavour, so to speak.
And to promote the documentary, I've read a lot of mainstream press you've done with outlets like the Sunday Mail, Daily Record. What's it like talking to those outlets, and what kind of a sense do you get for how they view poker? What sort of questions are they asking you?
The vast majority of them, it's like talking to every taxi driver you've ever had. It's so do you count cards and stuff like that? So it's really, but like, why would they know about poker? They wouldn't. I'm assuming, like, I'm sure if I tried to interview someone in some kind of like biological sciences or something, I would probably be asking very similar questions.
Yeah.
So fair enough. A lot of them, it's like, I spoke to a couple like I spoke to Greg because Greg wanted me to do some more stuff to get the doc out there, which is, I'm happy to do. A couple of the tabloid guys screwed me over a bit. Classic,
really?
Yeah. It's like, I made one throwaway comment about, so they're like, oh, this must be really glamorous and stuff like that. And I was like, Scottish people, we don't like to brag and boast too much, so we're kind of self-deprecating a lot. So I was like, yeah, it's not all swings, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Like, I couldn't get a mortgage. Just a little throwaway comment, and then their headlines were, millionaire poker player can't get mortgage, complains inside. I'm like, come on, guys. It's like a little thing I said as a joke. I spoke to a couple of guys, though. I think the Daily Mail are running it this Saturday, actually, which was it was the guy actually played a bit of poker and he understood a bit more, and we did a photo shoot and stuff, and it was good. But it's just good to and obviously I did Talk Sport, which I was really excited about. I did that a couple of days ago. I don't know if you know Talk Sport in the US.
I wasn't, but people like Brad, all my British colleagues, they tell me this is the biggest sports radio show in the world.
Yeah, it's the biggest one in the world. So and I managed to, because I know I'm good friends with Willie Elliott, who works with Stars here. So I managed to get Poker Stars on the radio in exchange for a few pints. So that's me, quite a little bit of back scratching. But no, it was great. Like, that's proper mainstream, and that's like, especially for poker, that's the exact demographic that would play poker as well. So it's great to get that out there. Anything to grow the game. It's like, I've done a lot of taking from poker. Maybe it's time to do a little bit giving back. I'm certainly very good at taking. I'm a good taker. But let's rephrase that. So yeah, maybe it's time to give a little bit back. I don't know. So,
where can people see this documentary? It's on the BBC, so does that mean it's only available?
So at the moment, it's only available on the BBC. It's on the iPlayer. You have to be in the UK to watch it. If only there was some kind of technological marvel which would make you think you're in the UK, that would possibly work also. I'm just talking theoretically here if such a device existed. We in the poker world wouldn't know anything about such devices, of course. So yes, that would be it. We're hoping that it's been doing pretty well from what I've been hearing. I don't really know how to measure how well it's doing, but it's been reviewed really well. And we're hoping it'll go to America, get picked up by a network over there. Again, it's not my area of expertise, so I don't really know. I'm kind of curious to see how Americans will take to it, because I don't know if the cultural thing of me stoating about having a beer is a very transferable thing to the States. I guess we'll find out. But yeah, so right now that's the way to watch it, but it should hopefully be available the rest of the world soon.
Yeah, that's great, and that would be great if it's available, because I agree. I think that it's great for things like this, more mainstream things that, I don't know, kind of, legitimize poker or show the other side of it. It's not just degenerate gambling. You have a family, all that. So very exciting stuff. All right, I just have some general questions here as we start wrapping up. I'm a big reader. I don't read as much as I'd like to, but what is a book that you would recommend to people?
So I really got into reading again over the lockdowns. I hadn't read for ages. So my favourite that I read was, I'm going to be really geeky here, but it was the Wheel of Time series. It's a fantasy series by Robert Jordan, and it was finished by Brandon Sanderson. it is a massive commitment, but I mean, all we had was time during lockdown, so it's a 15-book series and it's proper books. But it was sensational. I really enjoyed it. Some a bit smaller. The Mistborn trilogy by Brandon Sanderson's a good entry. I like a lot of fantasy. It was actually Sam Grafton got me back into reading. He gave me a Graham Greene novel at one of the poker stops when we were at, and he got me kind of back into reading again. So big thanks to Sam on that.
Yeah, I like the fiction recommendations. I also really like sci-fi, so I'll have to check those out. Nice. Definitely. Okay, what's something in the world that makes you hopeful?
We've gone very metaphysical there, haven't we? Makes you hopeful. I think just my interactions with day-to-day people. You read on media and stuff how awful everything is, and there's a lot of really awful things going on in the world at the moment, and it's always just negative. But when I was down at UK IBT London, or when I'm here, just interacting with real people and everyday interactions just reminds you that, you know, the human race is beautiful and there are so many good people out there and good things, and that makes me hopeful, I guess.
That's great. I like asking people that because it's always the same. Mainly, you know, generally it just seems like everything's going to hell. Yeah. Social media, world's falling apart. So it's nice to get that other perspective on things. And yeah, kind of another serious question. What's a piece of advice that you'd give to your younger self?
Listen to people older than you, particularly your brother, and don't think you know it all, because you don't. I was very, very young and arrogant, probably. I thought I knew everything, and it's one of those where when you hear people like your dad or like your older brother telling you, like, I know what you're thinking, blah, blah, and you're like, I got it sorted, I don't know, you know what you're talking about. And now I'm that age, I'm like, oh yeah, no, he was right. So yeah, listen to people more, probably.
Yeah, that's good advice. And so I mentioned how, you know, the logic connection between debate and poker. I don't know, I made that connection. That's one thing I like about poker, is how much it relates to other things in life. So with that in mind, what's your favorite life lesson that can be drawn from poker?
Don't be afraid to take risks is mine. I think as a species, we're very, very, it's drilled into us to be very, very risk averse, and I think you just can stagnate very easily doing that. You know, I think if, you know, without going all like cliched or anything, like you do only live once, and if you don't take even just some small risks, you know, to change, like if you want to change your situation or whatever, then nothing will ever change. You know, take smart risks, I guess, is the bite-sized version of it. You know, I don't necessarily mean just pack in your job and go and be an artist in the middle of like the desert somewhere or something. But like, don't be afraid to take smart risks. You know, what's the worst that could happen? Just go for it.
That's great. Well, Neil, this has been fun. I appreciate you talking to me, and good luck the rest of the trip.
Thanks for having me on. It was great, mate. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you.